posted, and people on Friday say, "Oh, can we do that?" You know.
Yeah.
So then, of course, I have to do that. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, I see you posted yours. Just
Yeah,
so
you did. You did too.
I see you got the underneath in the center darker. Did you use ink? Because I can't get my pencil that dark.
Yes, that's why I'm going to talk to you guys about using ink to enhance your picture. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of this one. Okay,
Need a sharpener.
because I have all kinds of stuff that just starting. So you guys already have the preview of the hands that I use my ink, and I introduce it half ink and half pencil in here, right? So you can always do that because you know, pencil and ink, they're all basically carbon, you know, all the carbon stuff. So it's all the same. I mean, it doesn't matter that unless you're joining a club where they say strictly pencil, you know, how you join some watercolor society and they say it has to be transparent watercolor, no opaque, you know. I mean, it's a little picky like that, but there are some people like that, some club anyway. So, yep, and I think we're all here. Pat is here as well. So I'm just gonna grab one of these and just show you one more time. You know, if you have a finished drawing of any kind of thing, it doesn't matter. And if you decided to enhance it, you know, and ink is really quite interesting. These are dried up already. So this morning I just sprayed a little bit. Sometimes you might, for bad ink, sometimes you might get flakes. But if you keep going in there and rub it, see, like this, just like the Chinese ink stick, you know, you rub it on the stone, and then you will get back to the liquid form again, right? So it's not like once you squeeze it out, it's going to waste. It's still good. I guess I need to turn my light on here. Let's see here. Okay. So this is nothing new. I already told you last time how to do it, but I'm going to show you again. So then next time when you look through your drawing and anything you want, and the only thing is that I will show you how to blend. That's the tricky part of it. But if it's a solid part, like for example, this is a solid part here, I can easily go in with my ink and no blending whatsoever, you know, see how dark that is? But if you want to blend, yeah, you take a brush, it has to be very dry. You see, like a little fan brush, like a rouge brush, and then you just go and use the hair to blend it. And this is also when, if you have makeup, a makeup brush, which I have it here before, like one of these makeup brush there, you know, you can also, but it has to be a little bit damp before you blend. So you go in with the dark, and then you can just go and blend it. Yeah. And of course, I find it's better to have a little moisture, but keep it very dry, so that a little bit of moisture will actually move the paint around. See, look at, that's what it's doing, you know. And then you can go and blend it lighter, and then it just disappear into the pencil, you know, and then become one, right? And the nice thing is that if you say you go overboard, you can always take a little wetter brush. So that part of it, I'm gonna do a little bit on the back just to show you again on a bigger scale so that you can see it. So it's just a little trick like that. So here we continue with the ink here and say, okay, that's pretty dark over here. Oops, my tip of the brush has something in it. Change it a little bit. And then I'll just go and blend it again. And always have to wash it up, clean it up again. And then you can lift or clean or whatever, right? So now you can see it started up with this dark here, which I thought it was dark enough, but now look at how dark that is, right? It just makes it even better. So that is like a optional thing, you know, it's not you must do it. That means it's just like so that if you want to impress your friends, you know, that's what you do, right?
Are you dabbing ink off or on with a paper towel or anything?
Yeah, paper towel. Yeah, I have a paper towel next to my ink and then my water container. So I will just say, okay, let's do a little bit darker here towards the bottom. So this is ink. And then I still have a little damp tip on here. Yes, if I move it, it's going too far, then you know that the brush is too wet still, right? And then so you see how this is quite a wet brush when you smear it. See how far it comes out there? So what I normally do is sometimes I have a paper towel here just to make sure that it's nice and dry. And then so that, but the thing is that it has to be the right amount. Otherwise, you see, just the right amount so that you can smear and then let it melt into the rest of the pencil. It's almost like shading, but you're shading it with a brush. Yeah.
What kind of ink is that?
That's my Chinese ink.
So
And
if I go to Delta, Willie, what do I
Yeah.
look for? Do I just look for Chinese or Indian ink?
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure they have Chinese ink. Look for the Chinese ink first. And the Indian ink is okay too. But, you can try them out because they're slightly different, but they're not a whole lot of difference, right?
And then does it ruin your brushes? You just have brushes set aside for
Well, yeah,
your ink.
no, we wash out nicely. It's the same as when you're doing watercolor and you need to blend your color anyway. It's the same, right? Yeah, I know some artists that they don't do ink; they just use the black color, the black watercolor, right? And then of course, your watercolor black is also made from carbon, made from soot and wood, so burnt wood. So it's basically the same thing. It's just it comes in many different forms. That's all. Right?
What kind of paper are you using? Like, I feel like the watercolor might not work on the paper the way it does on watercolor paper when we're doing painting.
Well, it will work because you are painting right on top of the sometimes on top of the pencil, so it's already sealed up nicely, right? Because you have a layer of pencil lead on it, and it's the part that needs to cover entirely, like this part here, like these part, and you find it that easy to cover. This ink business can cover just about anything. So let me grab a piece of watercolor paper here. See, it just goes on there. So a lot of the time when I'm doing watercolor, if I want something somewhere super dark, I will just go and use my ink rather than black paint, because though the black paint always dry light, right? And if you have, so this is a piece of computer drawing paper, and look at how it goes on it so nicely and evenly as well. Yeah. It will dry a little bit shiny here and there a bit, but 2 feet away, you can't even see it, right? So what I did with the middle of these, I just kind of pick and choose. I didn't do all of them. So I'm going, okay, this part here maybe needs a little dark. So sometimes I don't even do too much blending. I just paint and then just use the tip to blend it a little bit. Now, for example, over here, there's some dark here as well. So put dark, and then I take the tip of the brush, just gently, where's my paper though? Yeah, says if you want to lose some of the white, make sure you're always pointing at the paint, right? So see, like I said, oh yeah, there's one here, it's kind of nice. Let's do that just tiny little bit. It just makes it so dark and so different. And more 3D anyway. Okay. So you see how, but once you get started, then you have to do them all, just about. But I just kind of pick and choose, and some of them are just a dot, nothing else, and some of them just line to create a little shadowy area. See, some of them I just want to enhance, and this one I didn't blend very well, so I'm going to turn it this way, and then blend. Okay, so now I'm going to do on the sheet of paper just to show you the blending part of it. I mean, if you paint, you're a painter, it makes sense. So, okay. All right. So for example, if I have, let's just draw something simple, and this is the petal of the peony, and you have all this lovely dark color here. So you know that in the beginning you penciled in, and then you go, okay, not dark enough. Let's just go ahead and do it. So what I normally do is put the dark in away from the edge of the pencil. You know, this is the where the pencil shading ends. I kind of give away from it a little bit. You know, I just love this little dish that I got from a Goodwill store. It's like a shell. And when I put these on, my brush sits on here perfectly. So then, of course, you got that in. And then, you know, if you want to do blending, and if you're blending this way behind the paint, it's going to keep going. So you need to turn against it like this. So that your brush is always pointing, right? Pointing, and then you do a circular motion. You see how then it became nice and soft, right? And you push your brush down, then it goes from dark to medium and to light, right? So I'm going to make a bigger one so you can see. If you want, say, if you want the both side of these dark color to be smeared, obviously, again, you need to have your damp brush pointing this way, and then you go down far enough that your bottom of the brush here, the water, actually takes, and none of the paint will travel past that point. You see how it become, of course, you know, depends on how far out you want it, right? See? So the part that's touching the paper is the tip and the water. So now you got these lovely shades that change from dark to light, because you can never do it this way, because no matter what you do, you're gonna end up with a hard end to it. See, right? Even though you wash your brush and then you keep going, and you're always gonna end up with a harder edge. So you know, in order to prevent that, you always have to turn it around and do it this side. See, like that. And then you can actually lift, and then your bottom of your brush would then clean up the rest of the. Make sense now? Yeah. So, you know, just some small area, right? And, you know, it's just like sometimes you get into this area, and I'll see if I can do this one on here. Let's say, for example, here, I want it to be a little darker. Well, why not? I'll put my ink down, my brush ready, and I'm pointing at it, and then go circular, circular, whiteboard, circular, circular, wipe it off, and circular again, here and here, push my brush down, and then you see how then it just melt into it nicely like that. Okay.
Is it a thicker consistency than watercolor then? When we're blending on watercolor, we don't do the circle thing. So
Well,
is it?
yeah, you do with watercolor. You can use a circle motion and a small item. For example, when they do small, but this will be pretend that this is very small, like a water drop, right? And of course, you do, especially the water drop. We do a lot of the, you know, the blending. So you have your hard shadow, and then you got your light on top with a highlight, and then down about 1/3 or 1/4 of the way down, right? You know, watercolor. So if the watercolor is a lot easier if you were to don't go back and forth, right? You put your tip, there's a little bit of water there, and then you go. See, your brush on the bottom sucks up the rest of the paint, right? And it has to be clean water, otherwise you leave a mark as well. So you see, you do circular motion in the small little area like that. It's just much easier to blend, right? So if you were to say doing a small drop, even smaller than this, and let's say you have your shadow, and of course you can do this with drops on your, you know, if you're doing doing flowers and whatnot, you can use ink like that too, or you can use a pencil first and then your ink. Now, if you do like blending this way, it's just harder sometimes, but you have to learn to control. But if you know how to do it this way, then when you blend like this, it will always get a straighter line like this, but you can also do circular. Circular is just neat because it just kind of have a different feel to it. So next time you get a chance, just try it out.
Mhm.
All right.
So why did you put your ink in another bowl? Could you not go directly from your bottle, Willie?
No, I have, yeah, well, it's just like it's so much. You don't need much at all, right? These little bits will last me for next year or so, because that's how
And
potent they are.
and you activate it by rubbing or with water? You put water
With
in?
water, and then just give it the little blend,
Okay.
just a little blend. And so, the whites, of course, if you're going to put a little bit out, we mean very little,
And
right?
if
So
you've
then,
made a mistake, you're stuck. There's not much you can do to remove it.
well, you can lift some out. You can lift with ink. You can lift, depends on the paper, right? Some paper are more porous, then it's harder to lift. So let's say here, this one is, I don't know what, So if you were to go and rub, see?
Oh,
Yeah, you can dilute a lot of the area. Like for example, if I'm gonna say to to myself and say this drop here, the light is way too big, right? So then I'll go and say, okay, it's dry now. I'm gonna rub it, touching the rest of the ink here, and then just bring it down further. See, see how you can bring it down, and then you quickly wipe off the rest of the edges here. So now, doesn't that look better?
okay.
Yeah, if you can move it. Yes, you can move. I would say 50% of it. It's not 100%.
And if you wanted to do like branches with your ink, is it best to use the same ink in the picture and use a quill? Get a quill pen?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And no, pen and ink, basically, that's how it works. Just that they make it easier for you. So they make a Sharpie type of with ink in it already. So that you didn't need to dip into it. But a proper pen and ink, you need to use a nib.
Mhm.
Because then you can control the size of it, and sometimes the nib is square head, that you can create certain movement and certain things, right? Because if it's just one pointy Sharpie, you can't do much of to it. You need to literally draw a square. Whereas the other one, if it's or the nib, just exaggerated so that the nib is nice and flat at the end.
Mhm.
So then you just do a little, just like a calligraphy, or you can do sideway, and then it turns really beautiful, right? I have
So
to
this
go.
is, I'd like to try this. I'd like to get a quill pen. So should one get many different nibs, obviously?
Well, I would say 2 or 3 is enough. I mean, you don't need a whole lot, right? And that's why our drawing class, as it progressed, I'm introducing ink, and then we're gonna do a drawing. And today, don't forget, I have this piece of paper initially for your pencil landscape. So we're gonna do that just before we forget. All right. So this is all about the ink business. I mean, like I said, it's entirely up to you. But when I do my class, I find that the ink is so amazingly helpful to correct certain thing. If someone having a hard time and they only draw, especially sometime I have kids that join me and they only have HB, right? And if it's in person class, it's much easier for me to just bring an ink and drop a little bit on the plate for them, and then they can improve the painting or drawing, right? Yeah.
They don't get it all over themselves.
Well, what? Yeah. Well, the thing is that with these classes, we don't have a lot of youngster. But when I do evening classes, and sometimes mom and daughter, mom and son want to do together, right? I have another one right now in Kelowna. I think wants to join my Wednesday night drawing class, and they were asking me if she's too young. She's 8.5. And I think my answer to her mom request was that it's never too young to learn anything. They may not be 100%, but they will learn something, right? Because I mean, I love the fact that, if they want to even do it, you know what I mean? I mean, most kids don't even want to do it. And that's why I find it, when a man joined in my art classes, it's like, oh, a man, because, men just don't do art like crazy, like women, not creating. If you were to give a workshop on carpentry or something, a tour to Lee Valley, I'm sure they're all gonna sign up.
Thanks, Willie.
It's not just for, that's why we always said that's why women live longer, because they are more creative and more relaxed than men. I find it's very therapeutic for me personally, because when Rick is watching all this movie, bombing and shooting and all that kind of stuff, it's not my kind of movie, but he likes murder mystery and and to a certain extent, some of this gory movie he won't do. And I just find it's just useless kind of a movie. And last night he wanted to start watching this new series called Underground Railroad. I really don't, personally, I don't like war movie, because we know what war is all about. I don't need to see it again. And I know what the slavery was like. I've seen it, read about it, and to watch it again last night, even now they more exaggerate how they torture the slave, and I'm going, oh my gosh, it just cannot remind you how ugly human can be.
Yeah, I can't watch it either. I can't do
Yeah.
it.
Well, apparently it's a good show, so I mean, I watched its first episode, and then that was it. I'm sure eventually I will get talked into watching more. Okay, for your landscape, so we're gonna switch gears just for you, Francis, and for everybody, of course. I think my dog is scratching the door.
Thank you for this, Willie.
Go downstairs. A little bugger.
Are we making up a landscape or following a picture?
No, I'm gonna explain to you how to create a landscape based on a few little things, of course. All right. So I'm gonna fold this paper in half so that I can explain to you all the different kinds of landscape and different things. So we got 4 going here. Let's quickly divide it up. All right. Now, for before we do the landscape, we're gonna repeat myself here now about the 1/3 business. All right. So the 1/3, the 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3 roughly, for you don't really have to measure it or anything like that. Okay. So if you want to do a landscape, what we call a big sky. A big sky is the most common one. This pen doesn't show very well. I'll just use my ink, okay, so that you can see better on the screen. So the big sky, of course, the horizontal line will be at the 1/3 below. So here you have a big sky. So then you will have clouds if you want to do clouds, and you have to always keep in mind, right, that it should stay on a 1/3 area. If you want to have a very significant big cloud that sits here, you want it to be sitting on near the 1/3 area. Okay, and then the rest of it can be smaller. The secondary kind of 1/3 here, you can have a smaller, so that it balances beautifully like this when you do it like this way, right? So keep at 1/3. And then if you already use up 1/3 here, this point, so the next point is here and here, right? So for you to place the home, a house or whatever, you were never going to put it right in the middle. You always put it pretty close to the 1/3 point here. Make sense? Yeah, okay. because you guys already know a little bit about the 1/3. So to create a landscape, that's basically how you do it. So you don't really need to have to go and have a picture. You might see a picture that you want to use as a sample, you know, the surrounding the fence and whatever. I mean, you know, if you have trees and whatnot, you can then put it in, see, like that, right? You know, you can put wherever you want, but your main thing is the big one here and then another one here. Now, if there's a road, obviously you don't want it to come out like this. That doesn't make a good drawing, right? You know, right into the middle of the road, like the middle of the paper. So your road should be always starting from somewhere and snake through, either exiting on the 1/3 here. Okay, or you can exit. You know, you can have a road that go a river, doesn't matter, that exit at the you know the end here, right? Get out of it, but you never end exactly at the corner. It's always going to be up a little bit. Okay, so yes, you know, and that way then you know for sure your drawing will be pleasing to look at anyway. So you have your small sky. So your small sky is basically the 1/3 horizontal lines on top here, if you want to emphasize the front. So again, if you say, okay, this particular landscape has mostly tree, right? So you got tallest tree at the 1/3 point, you know, you can come down a little bit, and small one, or you want it really far away, you know, perspectively. If you want to do, this is first one, A, and then the B, you know, you want the distance. So then your 1/3 point, the tree, the tallest one can be this far to give you distance. See the difference, right? Yeah. So then, of course, with this, you can either put a house here or whatever, or, you know, a barn or something like that, more tree. So you occupy the 1/3 on this corner. So you can have a feeling of this beautiful, vast prairie with beautiful sky, small sky, and then a lovely large area. Now here, the question is, what do you want to put in here? So the reason why you choose a small sky is because you want to really play, you know, with the front there. So you can imagine you could be a pond, and then with all the lovely, so to start with, anytime you want to start any kind of a road or river, you know, on any kind of a landscape, you never start right on the horizontal line. You always want to move down about a 1/4 inch, or in an eighth of an inch, a 1/4 inch. Let's say we started a road here on this one. You're never going to see all the way near the horizon. So move down to a little bit down. So then I would say, okay, here's my, see, tiny little river to start, and then it gets bigger. So then that's kind of turned into the, so every turn, this little finger, what we call a little finger, it turned into a bank. That's why they turn, right? Okay, I will explain to you on the back a little bit more, but this is just to mention this point. Don't start right there. So for example, if you want to start a little pond on this one, and then the emphasis is it's really the pond. So then you can go move down of 1/2 inch or whatever. Then you can start here, and then you go, okay, here's the front here with all the beautiful, yeah. So you see, you always start on the other side with a bank like this. You can then put grass in this way, but when it touches the water, you can see the bottom. But on this opposite side, either a rock, more or more, you see, more grass. See, right? So then you can see every time there's a finger, you go ahead and add to it. You can put more rocks on the side here. See, you can put rocks here, whatever you like, and even bigger rock on the behind this. And then you can add more little trees and shrubs or whatever you need to do behind the one. So here's the exiting, here is the 1/3, right? And then this one coming down this far, it's very important to make sure you always lower to this part here. Okay, so this is the very typical of landscape planning you want to do. And of course, the horizon is never going to be completely straight across. So next one. So the next one, you can do a big sky. But this time your horizon line is starting the 1/3, but it's the irregular one. So what we do is that we dot it like this. We dot because it's much closer, right? If it's like this, far, far away, 1/3, yes, you've got a horizon line that is perfectly or more or less across like this. But if you want to do close up using the 1/3 theory, so therefore this is a dotty thing to start. You don't want to do the straight line because it all depends on what you're going to do. The sky part, yes, you already know what you're going to do with the top part, because if it's that close, you're going to have trees, see, much closer, bigger shrubs and whatnot, big rock here sitting here and small rock and whatnot, and then more trees. So it's a close-up kind of landscape. And then if you even have to put a home, a house or whatever, the 1/3 area, let's just go and put, a house that's sitting behind us. See, so the scales are different, right? So you can see that the 1/3 in here, then you can start playing on the front a little bit and say, okay, maybe there's a little path, river again, or whatever, or it's simply just more grass. So what we need to do is that you always like to do the movement. You want to create a movement. We're running out of ink here, so that you give you that kind of look. So this is a smaller piece here. But if you were to do a small sky, and if you want movement, you don't want river, you don't want lake, then you do the farming business. You know how they go, all this farmed land like this, you got all these hint of a movement like this. And just keep going. And if you want it to the front, then you go turn into, and then, see? So then your eyes is, everything is pointing towards this point, right? So this one can lead to something else. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can have smaller shrub to start, and then you got back to the 1/3 again. So it's really quite a neat thing to play. So if you go below the horizon line here, that just means that there's further away, there's still be lots of stuff happening on the back, unless you want to do a foothill and a mountain range in the back, then you can finish it up like this. Then you can see the little gap here that we talk about, yeah, away from the horizon to start. And now you also have all this lovely movement either coming out or going up this way, right? And then you have all this interest sitting at the 1/3 area.
Now, Willie, in that picture, you've got it exiting the fields coming towards you, exiting on the side, but you've also coming to the front. So that's okay as long as
because
something exits the side.
Yeah, because it's the one exit is here, right? The big one, and then the other exit is down this. So if you have it this big, that's okay. But it's only when you have one road coming out, you're trying to avoid that. Right?
Do you know, I remember learning about, it was a mathematical rule to do with, it was like a shell, where if you have a large item on the left side of your picture, you're going to have more detail and smaller items on the right. Do you know what I'm thinking about? It was
it's basically based on the 1/3 rule as well.
Oh, okay.
That's
it's all that is.
Yeah. So do you see how I purposely emphasize this tree here? So it's a bigger item, right?
Yeah.
And then the smaller item, you have to make sure that, okay, so if you're using one point here already as your main 1/3, then you don't want to go and say, put a rock here as because to make a picture, right?
Okay.
Then you have to switch over and say, you know what, it makes better picture if you have a rock sitting on that
Right,
side.
to balance it. Yeah.
Yeah, to balance like this,
Yeah.
right? And you can have smaller one, but you can't have two major one taking out the same area. Okay.
I remember when I studied art in university, they talked about an entry point to a picture, how critical that was.
Oh yeah, I mean the exiting and entering, you know, these are all the exiting here, you know, right? And then you're exiting rock or entering, you want to call it. So this rock here, you cannot just, you know how some people when they do tree landscape, they do tree here and they do tree here,
Mhm.
and both sides there's no entering and exiting, and that is a no, right? So you need to have one that is half of the tree here exiting and entering right here, right? So then your eye carries over to the other side. So that's easy enough, right? And even that far away, if you need to put a little bit of a structural thing, like a little homestead here or whatever, it's always nice to exit
Okay.
even there, you know, to exit. Yeah, so you got all that stuff. So, you know, it's good. So when you say you want to learn to draw, just pretend that this is my pencil, because when I do pencil, you can't see very well on here. A lot of time you just ask yourself, what am I going to do today? Do I want to spend a lot of time doing the foreground? Then I'll choose small sky landscape, right? So then you get to play with, you know, all kinds of like fence and stuff like that, putting fence, and you draw each one of these, you know, creating a lot of activity happening here. But if you were going to do, you know, let's do it over here, the typical big sky. So you have very limited space down below to play with, you know. And of course, when we do it like that, this is always because we want to show the drama in the sky, the clouds, right? And in pencil drawing, it's really quite good. All you have to do is Google some cloud. Oh, this one doesn't show. And then you can see just like the shrub business, negative and whatnot, you always gonna shades the bottom of the clouds, you know, to bring out the front and all that stuff, right? See, all the negative stuff. So you got small cloud here. How do you bring that second out? Well, you can shade behind it again. So you can do a lot of beautiful cloud, dramatic one. I've seen a lot of Southwest painting, and there's a particular one artist that I really like. We actually in watercolor, I took some of his picture and trying to paint it as well with a class. But he has so many dramatic sky. It's just so beautiful. And then you have this lovely, lovely sky, big painting, and then you have a cowboy sitting on a horse right here, just like that, you know, or a couple of ladies standing, walking, this tiny. The emphasis is not even, you know, a simple drawing of this person, you know, standing like that. Or sometimes you will see that they're getting lots of them walking like this, going into, you know. So but the top part occupies so much space, very little on the bottom, and it's so beautiful. That's what you want to do if you want to do that. But if you say, okay, no, I just want to create a simple one, back to your original picture, you see, you start picking a big sky, and then you just say, okay, today I'm going to learn how to do a simple little shrub. You can just go wiggle, 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 and do this, right? So, you know, if you, I'm just making it bigger so that you can see here. So you go round, 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 round with a pencil. Then you keep going into the same motion. Then you will eventually get a whole bunch of very wiggly kind of a shrub, right? See? So, you know, so then the smaller scale here, I will just go like that, wiggle, wiggle, a lot of little wiggle, wiggle, right? And then of course you go, oh, occasionally now we're gonna exiting at the 1/3. Do I want, maybe this time we would emphasize the 1/3 on this side here. So then you go, okay, there's some more shrubs here and all that stuff. And then they might have evergreen starting to grow in parts of it. So the exiting, don't forget the exiting, entering here. And then there's some smaller one, and there's some funny rock here and there, you know. And then you go, okay, that's a 1/3 area. Let's give a slightly taller tree. And it all depends on how close and how big you want to do. So if I start with this thing, the tree, I'm just doing little quickie one here, just to show you the position and stuff like that, right? And of course, when you're doing a tree, you can always do the painting, just like you're painting, you dot, and then you dot. You know, with pencil, yeah, you can do with your pencil, and it's the same kind of a stroke that you'd use with watercolor, just dot, 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 dot. Make sense? Yeah. So it's not just crazy line like that. You know, you actually use a pen, so just go in there to do each of these little branch like that to bring out the tree like this, right? So yeah, it takes a long time to do, but you know, eventually your landscape will be nice and, you know, okay. So then you say, okay, well, enough with the tree, and then I need to also make this more interesting. Well, maybe we can do a house hiding behind the, you know, just a hint of a house sitting here, you know, with a chimney and all. And then we have the end of the house kind of hiding in the bush, and then another sheds behind it, right? See? And then you always need to have a few vertical line just to have fun, for the fun of it. So you see, you occupy the really large of the 1/3 here. So this will be your main, your Diana Ross here. And then the rest of them, you're just gonna go in and do all the little things that you learn. Most of the time when you're doing landscape is nature. It just consists of tree, grass, rock, road, rivers, and maybe a couple of animals. If you want to put in a mountain at back, and that's more or less your landscape. And then the terrain can be different. So you can have a straight horizontal, or you have a bend, but you can add to it, you know. So this part here, you know, you can have a little bend like this, and it could be because the terrain is like that, right? So this could be on the slope, built in on the slope here. So it's entirely up to you. So then all this area here will be with more grass and more things happening here. So eventually you will turn into a little nice picture, more rock, bigger rocks, small rocks, tiny little rocks sitting on, you know, exiting here, and then more weeds growing, right? So you can add to it. Your picture would totally, you know, improving every time you're adding something to it, and say, oh yeah, more rock, right? And then you might say, oh, you know, out of here, maybe there's a little path, right? So a little path coming up from here, jump over to this side a little bit, yeah, like that, and then exiting here. See, you never go with 2 layers. You never go continue with the same line. You know what I mean? Because when this enter, like I'm drawing another one. So if this entering a road like that, coming a road, and depends on where it's going to move, it always end up here. You don't see the valley, and then it reappear again. Okay, so this could be a walking path, and this could be another jogging path, whatever. I mean, you know, so you cannot do a river. The river and the road on the valley are different. You cannot possibly have a river going down to the valley and come out on the other side, right? So this, if you have a division like the 2 layers, that has to be a road. I thought you were going to ask me why, Francis. Because water doesn't go uphill.
Yeah, but what if it's going the other way? What if the stream is flowing towards the house?
The stream fall into it's then you cannot possibly see it because the high ground that you sit on is on this side, and the water is following down to that way. So if you want to put water, let's say this one here, if you want to put a river, it will have to be literally I'm just put one here, just literally flat, nothing. There's no 2 tiers. This doesn't have 2 tiers, right? So yeah, this way you can add. Again, every time you turn, I said that I was going to do that, so I'm going to do it over here. So for the water, you know, so this pretend that this is, and then you start from here, zigzag, let's just make a huge one that you can see, right? And usually when you do this way, you can down, it will be rock. Because I'll just show you here. If you do the zigzaggy, the pencil is much easier. Of course, you go flat with the you know, and then zigzag, zigzag, in, down, and then flat again, and then zigzag, zigzag, and then even rock, whatever you want, and then down this way, rather than, right? Because this is the beginning of an interesting finger, because this finger consists of zigzagging so that you continue on. See, you can make it taller here. You can have tree, you know, see, it's all based on one single line that goes out from here, right? You extend it into this. So when you zigzag like that, then you go like this, and now look at it. You can have a pond. So then if you go to this side, the same thing, you zigzag, zigzag, and then down, right? And then maybe this one is a different foliage like this, and then in, right? So you can see that this part here touches the water, touches the road, will be straight. And then the part that starts from here will continue to become more, right? Now, sometimes when I finish this way up, I go, you know, if I turn this way, and then I go, okay, I want it to end down. So you don't do straight line as you go into this angle going down, because that's the shrub going into the water or the road. Then you can go continue forever and ever. And then you want to finish a pond in front, then you just go there. So now you can see that the pond started from somewhere behind here, to continue somewhere, and it ends here, right? Because you already do a whole entire grassy thing, you know, here. See? So you can make
Where did the
sense?
rocks go again?
Hmm?
Where did the rocks go?
The rock?
Yeah.
Well, any way you like. You can put rocks right in the water and just make it darker. See? You can have small rock, and usually in the pond close up, you will have reflection. And then if you have log tree, you know, dead tree floating in the water, well, that's where you can also do line, not the solid line on the bottom. Then you're gonna have, so creating landscape like that, it's a lot of fun. And then this will be a challenge for you for this week, coming week, but the trick is not to make it too big. And besides, you're not using a pen anyway, right? Okay, let me see here. Because all my pencils are, okay, let me sharpen one of these.
The secret with the water is you have to make the lines coming out sideways be like level.
Yeah, the one that sits on the water, it has to be, because we are talking about standing on the ground, not on, remember the lesson we talk about height and where you stand, right? If you stand on the top of a mountain looking down, it will be different, right? So yeah, so when I say, let's do this again. Instead of this zigzag, if you zigzag like that, most likely this is probably a whole bunch of big giant bouldered rock or whatever to end like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it can't have tree. It just means that these are much bigger rock, and then your trees will be growing, along the bottom part, and then you might have, you see the difference, right? It all depends on the size. So for example, this is a very typical one that we always do. Let's say you go zigzag, 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 small to start, and then you can get it so big. and exactly the same. Now, let me see if I can repeat that, you know. Okay, so let's say these two started out with the same kind of a water, the same water. But on this one, I decided to go and say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do beautiful weeds, grass growing on the bank here, continued here, and then go, oh yeah, more bank, you know, maybe a little rock here, you know, and then see? So you can see the size is kind of different. Okay, so then you might go, okay, here's some more shrubs going, and then the last one here, yeah, closer up here, and then there's maybe layers. You can do several layers if you want. Layer, different shapes of trees, you know, see? You can do, oh yeah, maybe there's a funny little trees back here and another one here to end. So you can see now this is more like a, see? So each of these fingers, it will continue on into the banks like this. All right, now look at this one. Instead of going down like water, I'm going to move up this way. I mean, you can tell now, right? Where we're going with this. And then you'll be like volcano in the back, spewing some smoke coming up here. So the water is the same pattern, but it all depends on the side, how you move out and move to the side. If you lower it, then you'll be much lower bush or lower whatever terrain, and it's smaller. But this one, look at, you know, here's your sailboat, or this is your cruise ship right here, right? Going through here. So the size is totally different.
The Three Gorges Dam.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, and that's how you know, this important part is the size depends on how you draw it to create the size of your pond. If it's small and flat, then it's closer up, smaller. And then if it's like higher up, right, it will be much further away. You know, these whole perspective things, right?
In
So
your top, sorry, Willie, in your top picture there, the very top, you've got sort of the land jutting out. It's opening up to you. What if you had a peninsula that goes past the last one you drew up there?
pass it like here?
Yeah, so it goes no more to the left now. So it's a larger peninsula of land that's sticking out.
Oh, you mean land out here?
Yeah.
I
So
don't
if
know
it
what
comes,
you mean. Yeah. So then if you have another island, if I were to, you mean this way? I don't know what you're talking about here.
well, it's hard to explain, but I can see as I'm looking at your top drawing there, the land masses are going, they're opening up, so you can see more of the river at the front of your picture. But what if you have a land mass that actually blocks some of that?
Oh yeah, you know, if you block them, then you won't see the river really.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, and of course that doesn't make a good painting drawing. So if you were to have a big landmass covering here, you know, you'll be only
Yeah,
see parts
okay.
of it. And then of course this landmass, because of this big, is because it's closer to you. So therefore, if you have trees up here, you are standing on this side of the mountain, right? Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then, I mean, you can hardly see, you can
Okay.
only see the river here and now, just a little bit of hinting. And then, of course, you might end here, and then it's further away here, you know, you might even see parts of the river, and then, of course, you will be more tree. And then there's another bits of river showing in here,
Okay.
you know, so you appear behind this rock and then come out from this side. I mean, it make a nice drawing, you know, to be honest. I mean, because it's more interesting. So this is where the drawing comes in. I can see your mind, your brain is working. So if I were to do this, my first things to do is to create the large landmass in front of me first, right? And then I will have trees, of course. I'll just say, okay, let's just trees here. And there's some trees here. And there's all these lovely rock on the top of the hill here. Tiny, rocks and, shrubs and whatever. So this is like, right? And then here we go. We're going to add a few more of these things here. So let's take care of the 1/3 here with the tree. And then I'm going to say, okay, across from there will be more stuff happening. So I will go down a little bit, 1/3, and say, okay, let's start here and zigzag, and then zigzag. Okay. So you see here, we can make it nice and big, boulder mountain at the back. Up. Small one, bigger one. See, so now your water is here, and then it comes out here again because parts of it was covered. And then of course you'll be more mountains in the back, more hills or whatever, and kind of that way, kind of what you have.
Right, right. Because if you're in the mountains, often you've got something huge in front of you, right?
Yes, yeah. This is exactly how you should do it. You create a huge, if you want minimum showing, then you see this top part, this front part here, the mountain will be mostly covered. And then you only see a little bit of the bits and pieces of the water coming here. Yeah. So I think it would be neat for you guys to just do a few little ones like that. So for example, I'm going to just say, let's say, I want to do a nice little picture, just drawing for fun, right? So then I go, okay, I kind of like to do the small sky today. So, you just dot across and say, okay, what would you like? Always fun to have a little buildings or something like that in there, and a little bit of water. It's always fun. So then if I say, okay, I wanted to have a little slough appearing in the middle of it. So I'm going to go to one side to start here. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle like that first. Small. And then get bigger. And then maybe exiting here. And then over here now I'm going to go and say, so now we're using pencil. You can see it, right? Yeah. So I'm using a sketch now. So you see how I'm going, oh, maybe there's some flowering bushes or something in height like that. See? And then you continue on and continue and say, yeah, you kind of just, and then finish it up. Again, it's always nice to enclose your little pond with a front lid like that. And of course, you can always putting rocks or something stone behind it. So you can always do that by doing some negative if you want. You can do the dark color of the rock, slightly darker, and then into negative to the front with the grass in front. Okay, so you got rocks here. More grass growing this way. Now we have to decide each of these finger, what can we do? Well, maybe if it's on the pond, they're more or less the same kind of vegetation, some taller, and some just keep going this way. Okay, so take care of each of this finger. It doesn't have to always go up this way. Yeah, see how this one I ended this corner, and then from behind here I create another one, so it becomes 2 layers. Right? So this one here, which ended this way, and this one here, we're just gonna end here with a little bit of shrub. It's entering the water here, and maybe a little shrubs on the back. And then here we have another one coming this way, and then out on the hill, oh, maybe there's a rock sitting here, and then another rock here with the grass in front. Okay. So you can see that this is literally the prairie kind of here to there. So there will be always somewhat rock, shrub, whatever, just keep going until about half an inch here. There's hardly anything you can see. Unless you see that it's a farmland, so then you see you create movement again. right? See the movement that I have here? Going this way. So it doesn't matter what it is. It could be, you know, and then on here, you can actually put trees. So, and on the same line, the tree smaller back there, and it comes closer to here. You get taller, taller, and taller. See, give you perspective like this, right? Further back. And so you continue to say, okay, maybe there's a little lovely 1/3 tree here. Let's do, yeah. So that's why when we draw, we don't want to draw with like you're signing a check, right? Try to draw on the side, so then you can use all kinds of interesting lines and, you know, and stuff. You can still do circular motion if you want, see? See, so now here I kind of go in there. So you can see the water is showing up lovely, you know, here with all the stuff around them, right? And like I say, if you want more rock, you can always do rock. And in front, it's always grass growing in front like this. If you want a white rock, you know, small rock, and then just keep going. So you see, in no time, you will create a beautiful little landscape without actually set foot there. You're just basing on the theory as to how this is going to work. So then if you say, oh, I want it further away, you can see there was even accidentally, there was a form of land, like a like whatever flatland in the back here. You can try that. You know, you can see I draw 2 straight lines here. Then you got this lovely more land going down this way. So of course, past this horizon, it's literally open season, depending on what you want. But you know, if you ever drive around in Alberta, you might see lots of trees at the back, but you know, kind of really don't see much of the top part of the tree. Whole bunch of trees like this. See, and then I'm going like that. So I purposely bring this movement into this little V shape here, right? And then nothing else, see? And then of course, if you really, really want to have fun with it, you can just include a little bit of a rooftop, no bottom of the, then you can see there's houses back there. Right? Yeah, the houses just simply go roof, and that bottom is slightly darker, and that's it. To indicate some kind of a building at the back. And of course, if you drive in Alberta, sometimes they have a second layer that you can actually see parts of it. Yeah, you can do that so that you go, you know, much lighter again, you know, so that you got some more trees in the back down so that you turn into more like a hills or whatever, right? Does it make sense, Francis?
Yep. Can you maybe on the back of that show me your quick drawing of a deciduous tree again? I liked what you did there. I mean, I've done
This
lots
one?
of evergreens. It's the deciduous tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, capturing a deciduous
Okay,
tree.
well, I'll show you a few different ones. Remember, you can do circular. You can use you can move your brush up, then you get lines like this, right? And then if you move your brush, your pencil down, then you will get heavier like this. So this is the wiggly one, like this. You just go like a little pern, a little. And of course, you always have to think about, you know, this is just an example. If you already know that this light is coming from here, then what happened is you will get some lighter shades on this side, and then the darker shade will be on this side. Okay. If you want to make sure there's a highlight in there, but you can always erase it. So this is the circular motion, or you can just go. I roll my pencil because I can do it so that your pencil will be sharpened at the same time, you know. So you see how you just go up and down this way, sideways, and all that kind of stuff. Then you will end up with, okay. And then the same thing again, if you have highlight, make sure it's lighter on this side. So that you got that one. And then of course you can do the dots. I just find that this really takes a long time to it's not quite a dot. You just push your brush down. Oh, I keep calling it brush, pencil like this. Then you can see some dots, right? A bigger dot than normally if you were to hold it this way, you get a small little dot like this. But if you put it sideways, then you go, it's just a shorter version of this, you know, so that you got a little dot like that, right? Some people will do the vertical. You can do the vertical as well. So let's say vertical, you go vertical, vertical, vertical. Usually you do this one for distant trees, you know, just the layers of vertical. I mean, here, you know, you can combine the two, you know, and sometimes you can do this first, and then you're just gonna go in there and put some twigs or whatever into it, and it will look actually nice. So let's do it on here. Let's just say that if there's some dead tree standing and sitting behind it, so I'll just go. See, so that we're combining the two. Okay, and then you might say, oh yeah, this one probably have a little bit of leaf on it. Then you put dots in there on the end here and there. Maybe another one sticking out this way. Okay. See, like this picture here, you know, a lot of time what I do is I will draw things that I just have fun, and then I just transfer these into my watercolor. And of course, with the watercolor, now you have to plan what to go first and all that stuff, right? Maybe I should do a watercolor like this tomorrow for you, Francis.
That would be fun.
Yeah. See, I like doing something like that because it's fun in some way, you know, because you're creating your own landscape, right? You're placing whatever you want, you know, rocks in the water, for example, and say, okay, the light's coming from here. Make sure you know, if I want to make it more 3D, I should think about that. So then I can start shading and say, oh yeah, this part of the rock will be darker, you know, this part will be darker, lighter on the top, and shades underneath this little finger, this little end, right? So you can see how, just go like that. And then you go, okay, since this is the tree, this water down here, you might get some reflection. So we're gonna go reflection, reflection.
So the idea of thirds is only in your initial drawing, right, Willie? When you get your big things in, then you
Yes,
can forget about it and put like you're
yes.
doing whatever detail.
That's
you
right,
have.
because all your big thing you said is this, the 1/3, you know, this is your 1/3 horizon, you know, and then you're exiting and all that kind of stuff. Your river exiting to the 1/3 here, right? And yeah, and then the rest you just go and, you know, putting all kinds of interesting, unpredictable lines here and there. It's always good, right? I mean, yes, you can put some more detail and go, oh yeah, there's more little rocks sitting here. Well, it's just whatever you like. You know, you can just keep adding. You know, after all, it's just a little rough sketch, right? So you see, oh yeah, there's rock here, for example. Now we can see there's some water, something growing in the water as well. We can, so make it really look busy and interesting. So reflection. And then you got all this beautiful farmland, have movement, they're happening, going around here like this. You can hint, and then there's houses by the back there, you know, right? So usually we keep it light, and then we'll do anything vertical behind it, vertical trees or dark color, so different shades. Then it looks like there's more trees behind it. You see here, vertical, vertical, and just keep going. Leaving the background a little light so then you see, right? So this drawing is just becoming more and more interesting because as you can see, and then of course, if you're brave enough to say, oh, you know what, I want to do cloud as well. So then you go and draw some shape, big clouds in the top first, small one, and then maybe a little one in the back, right? A little bit of small clouds here. Now you're getting more interesting. Then you go say, okay, I want the clouds to be white. So therefore I'm gonna go in there and shade the blue sky back there. And usually on the bottom, we just do shade a little bit of sky. The clouds are getting smaller and then you just do some line across, leaving a little white in between here and there. Yeah. And then you can see now negative, you do the cloud, just bottom part of the cloud will be darker. And then on this darker cloud, I'm gonna move this corner up. I can do it this way. Then you can just put some shades in there, and then sometime on individual cloud, they also have more cloud, then you can go behind. So your negative stuff, right? See? Yeah, negative behind this cloud will be slightly darker. And yeah. And normally what we don't take care too much of is two corners. We want to leave as much out as you can in the two corners here. Initially, it was because they can sign their name, so it's nicely visible here. But normally, we don't do a lot of details in the front. Just let it go, you know. And okay. So at the end, and you just take your, if you have your eraser with you, I like to use this electric one, because then I can say, oh yeah, this cloud needs to be nice and white. And this cloud should be a little bit fluffier, right? And this roof of the house should be white. Sort of thing. And then you know you can use any kind of eraser. More lines in between those water. Clean out the rock here. Give it a little haircut. Highlight.
I want one. Okay, I want one.
Hmm?
Electric eraser. They're fabulous. I want one. So it's battery run.
Yeah. I have this for years and then it's still running. I don't know. It's hard. Obviously, I don't use it enough, but and then you can adjust the eraser. You see, you know, if I want it clean, I'll just flip it over. Depends on how much you want to stick out. Shove it back. And here we go again. And with the new one, I like it because you see here, the new one, they have a really sharp edge, right? So if I put it sideways, see the lighter tree? It's that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So you just have to have a supply of erasers in case you.
Well,
run out.
they sell a whole package of this long one, right? So this,
Oh.
but then you know what? On this guy, you can't put a long one. It's only this short, so you can cut it to fit in here. Right? But when you buy them, I don't know if you guys bought any.
No.
No, okay. I think some people on Friday did Delta. It's about $10, And I think when you buy them, they always come with extra eraser as well. Yeah, it's just like kind of cutting something like line. I have to hold it this way to get it. So
You can use that thing on watercolor too, right? I think I heard someone talking about
with
fixing
watercolor.
errors on watercolor using an electric eraser.
Oh, I guess you can maybe erase some color. I'm not sure. I never tried that. So this is a watercolor. You want to use, yeah, a little bit. It comes out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. There, I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you. I think we saw that on a video, Francis.
Yeah, on how to make corrections, but I never
yeah.
thought of using it. But I think in class it's so noisy, right? When you take an in-person class, you don't want to have your electric eraser.
Oh, I don't think it's that noisy, but you turn your mic off, then you'll be fine. Okay, so this little picture I like I said, maybe tomorrow I will do a little landscape like that just for you two. Yeah, so yeah, I see how I go, oh, lovely tree here. Maybe I should put this one a little higher up, and then I should have one exiting right on the corner. So exiting, just to give it a little bit more of a, almost like a row behind it. Oh yeah, here we go. There's a row behind there. And then there's some shrub on the opposite side. So yeah, you can make this thing so complicated. You just keep going and keep going. So you can see there's a little secondary highway going into town here. This is the town of whatever. You can even indicate the windows in here. So yeah, based on that principle, the 1/3 big sky, small sky, and then, like I said, if you do a small sky, you have lots to play with in the front. But if you do the other landscape, the normal one, you know, the big sky, then you only have clouds to play with or mountains at the back. You know, this is typical of the Alberta prairie kind of a scenery, right? So when I do my little drawing, I like to draw a little over like this. So that if I have to put notes in the side here, you know, you can do that. And then you also have, you know, when you don't have pencil, and when you hold it, your hand doesn't go smear and all that kind of stuff. So it also make a little nice sketch, you know, in your sketch pad. You also do that the same way. Put a little rectangle in there and then just draw.
Good idea.
Okay, so should we do another one? It might as well, right?
Sure. Unless someone wants to do something different. They're nude. They want to look at their
Well, there are just so many possibilities. If you look at what I just showed you here, right?
Mhm.
There's all kinds of things you can do closer up with the water. So a lot of time when I see something like that, and I'll go, you know what? I really like this portion of it. You know, then I'll go and put my paper here to block it and say, that's a nice little painting there.
Mhm.
A little vertical one, you know, and that's it. The tree smack right in the middle. Or you can move it around and crop it and say which way you'd like. You know, normally you can just go and see, that's a nice picture here as well.
If you're doing a study, let's say of a tree or a house even,
Yeah.
you still would not put it in the center of your paper?
No.
So always to the side.
Yeah. And you know, it's not that you cannot, you can do it, right? But when you are studying, it's just like when you do ballet, you need to follow all the rules. But when you're on stage, then you can do whatever movement you want, slightly different. Then nobody's going to say that plie is not done properly.
Like if you were doing a photograph,
So like,
you wouldn't
yeah.
put the house in the middle.
Yeah. So you see this one here can also possibly a nice little painting with a hint of a slough back here, a little pond. I don't know if you can see that. Why is it my cameras are all crooked?
So sometimes when my paintings don't turn out, like often, well, maybe a quarter of the time after I painted the whole thing and put my heart and soul into it, then it's not right. There'd be a bad part, and you think, oh, it'd be better if I cut it, cropped it.
Yeah, well, I did that before, you
Yeah.
know. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I did it with my big painting that I did for the gallery too. I mean, I just cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That's much better, Willie, with your camera. My neck was getting sore from turning my head all day, all morning.
you should say something.
Well, I didn't think you could. Okay, that's better.
But,
Much better.
you see, like this one here, I like this little landscape too.
Yeah.
You know, the study of those rocks in front, beautiful shading and stuff like that. You know, and then the interesting little bit of something happening there. Yeah, that's nice. See? So yeah, you know, from a picture you can literally just create and then you just do a lot of paintings out of it or drawing out of it, right? So the next one, we're gonna do a different format. And of course we always want to try do two run. One is the big sky and then one the small sky. So let's just do a big sky. The big sky is the easiest one, really, because there's not much you can really put in there, you know. So here's my little rectangle, right? So if you go big sky, let's see a big sky, what should I make it more interesting? So I'm gonna create my shrub in front first. Here we go, little bit of a grass and then few dots. And then more grass. So you got a little slope that kind of comes down here. And then maybe a little bit of slope here, right? And then again, if you want to put a little bit of water, that's good. Okay, you can put a little bit of shrub over here too. I always like to do water. You know, it's nice to have a little water, or you can turn it into a road. So this is a road, right? So the road can be with patterns and marking on it. The movement will be dot, dot, dot. See, like this, so that you can see. And then the shrub, more shrub. You know, more shrubs at the back. You know, oh, big rock, or a dead tree somehow fallen and sitting on the side here. You know, propped up with maybe another rock. Okay, so our third, 1/3 is about here. So we have more chances here to play with maybe a nice something, no name trees like here. Okay. And more trees. And this time I might even say, that because this is no water, so it doesn't matter. So about 1/3 here. Should I put on this side? And now we can put on this side. And let's do a tree there. So we're coming from the bottom and up, you can see. So I've decided the light's coming from this side now. So I'm gonna go and darken this side of the trees a little bit. This side of the rock will be darker. Okay, so now we're going to continue on see and say, okay, what do we come from here? What should I do? Okay, more, maybe a different kinds of tree. Just a little dotty, dotty, dotty. Dot.
Seems like a good idea to learn how to hold a pencil like that.
It just much more flexible where you wanted to have, you know, but usually most drawers, when you're drawing, you draw like that anyway, you know. But if you're not used to it, it might get a little tired, your finger. But
I've never done it before.
so I'm gonna do a little negative with a white light bush in front here, negative. Maybe another rock here. Then you can, if you want to do tiny little ones, yeah, you need to turn your pencil back up again and okay. So this is the big sky. I make it interesting rather than the prairie. The prairie is much easier. So, you know, so now we can see that. And then you might say, oh yeah, well, why don't we just say we overlooking over the 1/3 line here. Let's just create some line here. See, this could be just the lake, right? And then of course, one tree is not good enough. We have another dead tree here, of course, you know, and it's always nice to put another one somewhere. So you have to be careful how you put it in. So let's just put a smaller one. Don't necessarily have to be a dead tree, but you can add into the leaf later. This is just, you know, the initial design as to what you want to do. So we'll do another tree here. It's a dead tree. Okay. And I still think it's missing something here. So I'm going to put a little skinnier tree, a little bit here, just to make it interesting. Okay. See, so now you have, it all depends on if you want to turn this into a prairie or lake. What do you think?
How about a lake?
A lake is a lot easier, right? So there's really nothing but just a little hint of line across like this. You put your pencil down and drag across a few lines, right? And then of course, this one behind it, we can't see it too much, but then you can also create an island back there. So if it's all a higher shrub, let's do a higher one. So let's say if you have a little bit of a land back there, see? So then I'll go vertical, give it a little shade, right? And then it might go, okay, skip a little bit because the light's coming from here. Let's do dark here. Then you can go and put some detail if you want. Can you see the little mountain at the back or hills in the back? That's more like a BC landscape, like a, or into the mountain. And then of course, this little path here, you know, the light's coming from here. We want to cast a little shadow across the road a little bit. So it's nice to make it slightly darker on this side, but the light's coming from here. So therefore, this side of the road will be slightly darker. To me, I keep thinking of Kelowna for some reason. A few little dots there. Maybe there's some trees in the distance, in the shore. Of course, you have a big skies and if you have tree, you really, really want to do a lot of fun, do log branches just to make it more interesting, right? See? And really, it's easier when you draw branches rather than painting it. So just keep adding, crossing it. Important to cross. Make a little dark color here and there so you have negative.
Now, Bob Ross always put something live in his landscapes. I think you should put a bird in there for Lucy's sake.
Yeah, Lucy, you and your birds, you should put birds in there. Or you can do birds in the sky. See what I'm doing now with the contrast? I just go and rub it a little harder on the left side of some trees and shrub. A bit of negative. I'm using a 2B, 6, 4B, or whatever, B pencil. There's some interesting corner here. Maybe I should just do a negative here with a brush, turn into a shrub or something. Maybe more branches. Maybe another trees back here, exiting, entering here. Just so that I can bring the dead tree out a little bit more. See, the dead tree is a lot more obvious now, right? keep the right side of left side of the mountain a little bit darker. I call it mountain, but it's more like a hill or something. There, right? So you want birds? Well, or you can do the clouds thing, depends on what you like, right? For a very plain kind of a landscape, that's good enough. But unless you say, oh, I want to do a mountain at the back here. Sure, why not? Let's do a mountain. So put the lines in there. Maybe the peak around the 1/3 on this side. So now we shade it in very far away, kind of after the fire. It's not going to be very visible. So, but you're still going to do a shade here and there, you know, maybe a little foothill, dark color on this side. And it can also get too busy too, though. I mean, it all depends, right? What you like. So here's the mountain.
So Willie, I'm so used to having the light or the shadows coming in from the left side.
Oh, yeah.
Never be able to turn my light around.
Now it looked more like driving to BC. Actually, these kind of trees are mostly in Alberta side. You know, when you go to BC side, it's the trees are different. There's a lot of shorter tree. When we cross past the Crossness Pass, you can tell in the Alberta side, the trees are getting so like almost stunted. You know, they just, the growth is not as good as the BC side when it's wet. It's amazing where the continental divide, it just changes the weather, everything. Okay, I like this one too.
That's Canmore, that's Three Sisters, I see.
Yeah, you can put in something that you like, that you know for sure that it's the shape of that particular mountain, right? How is Pat doing?
Good.
Good. So you got your small sky, big sky. Which one would you prefer?
I like the big sky.
The big sky? Well, it gives you a different perspective altogether, right? You know, bigger things in the front and then go further back. And this is definitely the prairie kind of a scene, because in the prairie, we like to show how big the prairie is. Yeah, so these are the two main one anyway. And like I said, you know, your big sky, small sky, you can do so much from here. And of course, you can keep it very simple. Some people like to keep their drawing very simple. Depends on what they're doing it for. I'll tell you the simple one. And you don't need to look at these, do you?
Yes.
So let's say do a simple one with the with a small sky, but emphasize trees if you like doing trees. So here's your back here, one straight line. And it's always nice to put something reflective or whatever to show your skill. Here's those blue. And you can do a big tree that cut across. So you position those tree first, right? Boy, my ass is sore sitting today. This chair is, I even have a cushion on. Okay, so we're gonna do a birch tree type of thing. So my light's coming from which way, Lucy?
The left.
Okay, I come to the left. Then I have to turn my paper to shade it. So I'm gonna put a little shades on the left side or the right side. Just a little bit first. And then you do your little line thing here. You know, some area is quite dark. Got eaten by the bug or the animal. When I said fast and easy, this probably the easiest one, right? And minimal stuff. So you can see that it's mostly grass or whatever. So here will be your, you know, and then you did your grass in there. It's a little bit of lots of this vertical thing. A little slough. Because when you're doing a landscape like that, mostly just short grass, you know, you can do short grass. Not too high up because we're not doing the canyon. So some water weeds growing in here. Okay. And then you can have you can sharpen your pencil when you're doing this. And you still, if you want to do a house or whatever, just put a little roof there. Or you can do a lighter house, meaning you have a roof but you go around it to create some trees around. Then you will show the house better. Okay. Okay. And then of course, here again, you can play with the movement of the right, the land, farmland, of course. And then of course, now you just go ahead and do all your lovely branches. Sometimes it's the same thing as the watercolor. It's a lot easier to just pull down this way than pushing up. Push as many branches you want. So when you say a simple drawing, this has got to be the easiest, simplest kind of a drawing. And also this is a kind of sketches that we do for our watercolor as well, right? Then what you do, you tape it and everything, you know the drill. And then you can start shading. The light's coming from the left. Do a little shading here maybe. Just give it a little contrast. There.
Okay, since I've never held a pencil like that, I feel like a shorter pencil would be easier.
Not necessarily. Long one to works the same. You can just hold it, let the rest kind of, yeah. It's just shorter.
Or you stick the end out the side.
Yeah. See, like if I have to do it this way, it still works the same way. You'll be fine. The important thing is not to be too calculating when you're doing all these weird dots and lines and whatnot, right? Just be free. Occasionally, make a nice darker tree, not darker bush here and there. Of course, the front here will be slightly bigger. Let me check somebody at the door. Sorry. It's a mess right now. Everything in the house. That's okay. I didn't come to judge. I know you. And with the snow, I won't even look at tomatoes that's back there. Okay. Any questions so far? Bad? Anything?
No, it's good.
That's good. I know you're gonna like the birch tree one. I know you like the big sky, but try looking through the trees. Those are always good, nice view. And then I guess you can put a rabbit in here or something. Okay, see? So you can go through these pads. I personally like him this way, Francis, loose sheets. Because then I can maneuver it easily. Sometimes with the big pads or pads that you're doing, it's hard. They have this ring around it and all that kind of stuff. It's hard to move around. So with these, the nice things about this, if you want to store them, you can then punch hole and then you can store them. And then some of the stuff that you painted in the drop in between that should belong to this one, then you can insert, right? With a book, you can't do that. And then with this, like I said, the reason why I do that is then I would say, Wednesday, a Wednesday class, a Wednesday group, and then you sign your name over here. There.
Beautiful.
So this one we did. And this one we did with the 1/3 thing. And if you stick to this, you'll find that this drawing, they're doing the other side, and it's better than the one that you sent me, right, Francis?
Mhm.
You can take that one and tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, make it simpler. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure you can tweak that one. And this one here is a busy one.
I like the idea that one landscape had sheep in it. To me, there's something lovely about drawing sheep in a landscape.
Yes.
So
Oh yeah. I know I have requested somebody who on Wednesday night class, we're going to have a Wednesday night class starting in June. And she already requested cows. And I'm going, okay, I like cows, but, it's really not hard to draw cows, but, usually we just do it, unless you want to do a whole entire cow here so that you can see that, anatomy, you have to make sure it's correct. Yeah. Hello.
Hey, Willie.
Yeah.
Can you do me a favor?
Okay.
Can you just call my mom and say, hey, how are you? Can you say, oh, you should go eat lunch.
Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to finish my Zoom in a few seconds. Okay. Good. I'll do that. Well, it's my good friend Robert wants me to call his mom to check on her to see how she's doing.
He must be working. Is he? Is he working?
Oh, he's doing a lot of Zoom as well. So,
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Listen.
Okay.
I think we have enough. Your brain must be buzzing right now.
Buzz. Thank you, Willie.
That was great. Thank you.
So, do you want me to send these to you?
Sure. Always.
Okay, I can do that.
I always keep record of everything.
Okay, sounds good. All righty.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Willie.
See you tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Bye, Lucy. We'll see you Friday.
Bye, Pat. Oh, not tomorrow. Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, bye,
Hey,
Pat.
guys. Bye.
Okay, bye, Pat. Take care.
It will.